Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class is dedicated in celebration of the birthday of Moshe ben Ezra on the 3rd of Adar by mom and dad. Breakfast in the Class also dedicated in loving memory of Nishmat David ben Naima, sponsored by the Aaron family. And also Breakfast in the Class sponsored by Shimshon Deutscher in honor of Stephen Rappaport in recognition of his dedication to the synagogue. Hazaku Baruch. Breakfast in the Class is sponsored also by Edward Sofer, dedicated in loving memory of his parents, Ray and David Sofer, David ben Naima, and Simcha bat Hana. Finally, we can call we're dedicated in honor of Rochelle Sayed, sponsored by her sons. My friends, there's a famous line in the parasha which communicates a concept that is part of the Jewish belief system. And that is where the pasuk tells us, V'yikchu li teruma. V'yikchu means, and you will take for me a teruma. Normally, what it should say in the pasuk is v'natenu, and they will give. And the rabbis point out that when a person actually gives properly in the right way, the result of the act of giving is not one which leaves them with less than they had, but actually leaves them with more than they had. And therefore we point out that the pasuk, when it talks about later on in the Torah, when it talks about giving, it says v'natenu, ishkof v'nafsho, you find the pasuk, v'natenu. The word itself, v'natenu, is a palindrome, and it starts vav, nun, taf, nun, vav, meaning that you will give. The word itself reads one way, and it reads forward and back in the same word. So this idea that the concept of giving in the Jewish perspective is one not only where you're giving away, but also where you're taking for yourself, that forms a core of the way that Jewish people think, and therefore also the way that they live. In fact, Gemara tells us it's one of the signs that a person is a Jew is that he is gomlech chasadim, that they are people who do acts of kindness. My friends, we've spoken about this before, and I want to illustrate this by a story that actually happened to me yesterday. Not I read, not I saw, not that was on the news, not, yesterday with me. All right, you ready for this one? V'yikchu li teruma. God says, take for me a teruma, because ultimately it's not going to be the Jews giving, it's going to be the Jews receiving. Yesterday, someone called me up and they asked me, they want to do something in memory of a family member that passed away. They said, what do you want to do? They want to do something very special. Okay, I said, tell me a little bit about the person. They're telling me about the person that passed away, the niftar. And what I'm hearing is something very, very beautiful, but something very specific. And I said, you know something, while you're talking to me, describing the person that passed away, I said, I had a crazy idea, but it's a very big idea. So if you want to sponsor that in memory of them, it's going to be an expensive proposition, because there's a lot of different pieces to this, a lot of different videos, etc., etc. And she said, okay, I'm in. Let me know what it is. If you think this is the right idea, if it's a big idea, if you think it'll be a very big zechut, I'm going to do it. I'll figure out already how to get the money together. How much is it going to cost? Anyway, I tell this woman the cost of it is going to be $27,000. It's 54 different videos, $500 each video. Okay, you understand? To be able to produce this, one on each parasha. Whole idea that we've given her, the full amount is this amount. I said, so she said, you know what? I'm in. I'm going to do it. I said, you could. She says, so long as I could divide it, I don't have the cash flow right now to do it all in one shot. Could I divide it? I said, look, we're going to make the videos as we go, so we just need the money to be able to produce them and to put them out. No problem. So she says, you know what? I said, you can do it as you want. It will cost us about $2,000 a month. She does not say $2,000 a month. She says, you know what? Let's divide it into four, $6,750. I said, okay. She said, send me the information. We're going back, forth, the Zelle, the wire, to the shul, how we're going to do it. Exactly, where she's going to make the deposit. My friends, I get a message. I think it was within the hour. From this lady, all it says is, OMG. Oh my God. Crazy thing just happened. Rabbi, I got to tell you. The business that she had wasn't maybe producing what she wanted. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, a brand new client messages her and puts through an order. And how much is the order for? $60,750. So what was the number that she chose? I didn't give her the number. 6,750. She goes, look, Hashem paid me back 10 times. Unbelievable, exactly the number. I said, I hate to burst the bubble. 6,750 times 10 is not 60,750. It's 67,500. I said, it's still amazing that God, hits you with like a bunch more and use the same numbers, but it's not 10 times. It's not aser bishvil jetit asher. Give a tenth in order that you should get times 10. So what's it called? I said, but still very cool. And then as I'm saying it, all of a sudden I start getting goosebumps. I said, oh my gosh. Now I'm writing OMG. I said, it says you give a tenth, correct? 60,750 minus the portion that she'd given, 6,750, is exactly 10 times. So 67,500 minus 6,750 is exactly $60,750. HaKadosh Baruch Hu literally within the hour rewarded her to the penny, the 9 times to her 10th to the portion. This is a story that happened yesterday afternoon in this Beit HaKnesset. You like that one? Unbelievable. I think Rabbi Hananya, it says, you know what? I feel like you could squeeze some more Torah in there, Rabbi. That's what Rabbi Hananya is like. Rabbi Hananya is like, I have the Kaddish, I'm on standby, but I love where you're going with this, Rabbi. Give us some more. So, I want to share with you an interesting concept. You hear a story like this, what's your reaction? OMG. Right? Other people, I'm sure, in this room, if I ask them for a story of where giving to someone else resulted in them getting much more than they gave, I'm sure lots of people would have great stories. A real estate deal where you're fighting with someone and they need the space much more than you do, right? And you let them have it, and all of a sudden, a deal comes your way for a house, for an apartment that's bigger and cheaper. Someone comes, they're screaming with 6 kids, they're in the hotel, there's a mix-up, you tell them, you know what, you take my room. All of a sudden, what happens? They upgrade you to the penthouse suite. Everyone has experienced in their life a time where Chesed provided them much more than what they would have gotten if they were looking out for themselves. You know what I always like to point out? When you're looking out for you, so who's making your mazal? You. But when you give your mazal over to God, who's looking out for you? Borei Olam. Who do you think is going to roll the dice better? You or Hashem? With God, it always comes up double sixes. Tamevin? So let's move on to understand this. And I want to point out something remarkable. But you hear a story like this, what does everyone think? Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh wow, that's unbelievable. Wow, Rabbi, fantastic. I want to point out something that I think is, in some ways, counterintuitive. Okay, you ready for this one? Let's say a person is in a very committed relationship with someone. Let's say it's a husband and wife. Anyway, husband and wife, Bar Minan, they go on vacation. They're in a shopping mall. Anyway, the husband says to his wife, you know something? I must tell you. Yesterday, I put money on the nightstand in the hotel, and this morning, when it came time to leave, I went to the bed. I don't know what happened. I went back. The money was gone, and I was sure that you took it. But then I realized today when we were shopping and you were looking through your purse for cash, you needed cash for something, for what you were buying, you didn't have the money. And now I know that it must be that it was taken by the house, by room service. You can imagine that the wife of this person is probably not going to stay married to him for very long. She's going to tell him, what, you think I stole money from you? You're reassured that your wife is not a thief? You needed to see, to check that I didn't have money when I went shopping, to know that I didn't steal your money? That's the point here. You were surprised now that I'm not the culprit in some weird game of marital clue? Is that what's going on over here? Sometimes when we look at how a person thinks, we see what they're surprised by, what they're expecting, what they need proof for. That's a modicum, a medium of understanding or of taking the temperature as to where the relationship is. What, you don't trust me? You need to go with me to the store to make sure. You told me, we agreed that I'm going to buy this one, not that. You have to come with me to the store to make sure I don't buy it? You don't trust me? You're surprised? When we hear a story that someone explains to us that they did an act of chesed and they got back big gadol, we're like, wow, Rabbi, amazing story. You hear a story that a person studied Torah and the Torah protected him. Wow, unbelievable, I can't believe it. Rabbi, you're never going to believe this. You ever hear people say that? Why would we assume that a person is never going to believe that? Why does it surprise us when we hear that the story works out the way that our emunah and the way that our Torah teaches us it's going to fall out? You hearing my point here? Where is the OMG? If anything, the OMG should be the other way around. Rabbi, I gave tzedakah and I haven't seen it back. I don't know what's going on. You understand? Rabbi, I prayed. You don't know. 2 minutes after I prayed, exactly like that's what happened. That shouldn't be the OMG moment. The OMG moment is the opposite. Rabbi, I don't understand what happened. I didn't get what I wanted. I expect to be answered. I expect to be rewarded, to be compensated by tzedakah, because you're allowed to expect it, as we've learned many, many times. These ideas, my friend, although it sounds like I'm nitpicking, what I'm actually doing effectively is opening up the door, taking poking my head in, and looking around on what's going on inside. Because what you're surprised by indicates what you were expected. One more time. What you're surprised by indicates what you were expecting. If you're surprised because your child was truthful, your child was honest, your child was open, if you're surprised by the fact that someone paid you back on time, then recognize that your surprise is an indication of your expectations. This is what you really think. We've discussed an idea a few times that you find in the Torah where the pasuk uses an interesting language. It says, "Vayisa enav vayar," and he lifted his eyes and he saw. Now that's a very interesting expression. Why do you need to tell me the mechanics of his optical nerve system? He lifted his eyes and he saw. Just tell me he saw. Tell me, I lifted my eyes, the light was refracting on through the cornea, back on the retina sent messages to the brain. Okay, fine, if I want to go study that, I'll take a class in biology, okay? I don't need to, what's the Torah communicating? Listen carefully. I think they say this idea in the name of Rav Hutner. Vayisa enav vayar means that there was a conscious process of the lifting up of the eyes. Normally when you see, you just look for something and you see it. You look around, you notice something that you were looking for. Happened to come across your field of vision. Vayisa enav vayar is something very different. Vayisa enav vayar is if you turn on the light switch and then lift your eyes. That's vayisa enav. I know that when I flip the switch, what do? We look up to see, because we're expecting the lights to come on. Vayisa enav is a barometer of your emunah, of how much you believe. You're praying. Did you then look up to see? Yitzhak is praying, lifts up his eyes. Who's coming? His shidduch Rivka. Vayisa enav. Avraham Avinu is on Har HaMoriah. He's come to do this Akedah. He can't do the Akedah. Doesn't know what to do. Vayisa enav. Raises his eyes. Vayar. And he notices. Hine ayil acha ne'echaz basbach b'karnav. Another ayil, another korban, another a goat, a ram, is caught in the brambles in its horns. That means that Avraham lifted his eyes expecting to see something. I must share with you, there's a famous expression that we say, Yeshuat Hashem keheref ayin. The salvation of God comes keheref ayin, like the blink of an eye. Keheref ayin. That's what we say. Heref ayin. What's that communicating? That means that sometimes God's salvation comes like this. I shared with you guys a while ago about that phone call that I got. Do you guys remember that one? I got a phone call, Erev Shabbat, from a fellow telling me, Rabbi, I booked 2 hotel rooms. The people can't come. I just want you to know in case you want to invite someone for Shabbat. I said, Rochi, it's an hour before Shabbat. Who am I going to invite for Shabbat now? Not only that, my wife, she's not cooking, so we're not home this Friday. I'm going to invite someone for Shabbat and then not give them a place to eat. They already need food. So who already has food doesn't have place? I said, I'm probably not going to be able to use them. The guy says, look, I just thought I would call you so you'd have them. I hang up the phone. Immediately pick up the phone. Because it rang the second I put the receiver down. So I put the phone down, the phone rings. I pick up the phone, I thought it was the same person again. I pick it up, he says, hi Rabbi, this is Gabby Goldberg. He's a Hasidic guy, he has a very warm relationship with the Shetrits. He says, I was just invited for the Shabbat Chatan. I have a place to eat in this Bet HaKnesset, but I don't have a place to stay, and I'm a little bit nervous about a hotel room. I'm sitting there looking, you're looking at the phone like it's an alien life form from another planet. I'm looking at the phone like this. So I need a place to stay. I have everything, food is sorted. I just need a place to stay. And I don't want to go to the hotels because a lot of them, they're not set up properly for Shabbat. Might you have a hotel room for me? The hotel was in Affinia Gardens where they know everything about Shabbat. The doors have metal keys. They put you on a low floor. It was exactly, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was like, here, you're going to need this in 1 second. But you see, the fact that I looked at the phone and was surprised means, on a certain level, I don't believe that Borei Olam runs every bit of the world. You know when you believe, when you're not surprised at all. When the language you use is not, I'm helping someone, I'm giving, they're the receiver. When the language is, Baruch Hashem, I was zochet to give tzedakah, because you just won the lottery. I always think this. Everyone in the real estate, right, and in investments, they're always talking about, what's it called? 5x, 6x. How many x they're getting, right? Someone comes to you, 8x. Someone comes to you, 8x. 3x. Someone comes to you. No, I'm saying the best deal they ever did in their life, right? Imagine someone comes to you, 8x. Forget it. You're pulling out all your money, you're putting it there. 9x. Hazi, Marcus, he can't even handle the talk here. I'm ruining his day. But Mark, where am I building to? Where am I building to? God says, how many x? 9x. God says, 6750. I see your 6750. And I raise you 60,000. 60,750. 9x, my friends. If that's how we think, then it completely changes the dynamic of the. Absolutely. Only mitzvah you're allowed to challenge God on. Show me the money, God says, and I'll show you the money. So when a person learns this, if they have true emunah, then that's actually the way they interpret, the way they interact with the world. And it changes the way, it changes the way we live, it changes the way we practice our mitzvot. If you believe, my friends, if you believe that God is the one that provides you parnasah, could you imagine saying to someone, I don't have time to pray, I have a big meeting. I have a business trip, I don't have time. I got to make what do you mean you have business? Would you go to the airport without your passport? Because you believe, you know, if you got to the airport without your passport, you're not flying. It's not happening. You're not flying. If we thought with that degree of certainty, I'm going to come to the business without having prayed for its success, what, I'm going to rely on just me and them? It's not happening. That's certainty, my friends. In many ways, it's a lost art. The last generation had emunah like that. And you know who? Not just the rabbis. The regular guy. The regular lady. It was so obvious to them. Kapara. Something happened, they didn't get kapara. They wrote off. Now today, 10 years later, the guy's still talking about the deal he could have done. But developing that certainty in our emunah, in our tzedakah, is such a beautiful thing. May Hashem bless us to have it in spades. And may Hashem bless us, Mark, with 9x in everything that we invest. Baruch Adonai Le'olam.